The ghosts of Soviet past stalk the streets of Estonia again. NATO troops line borders against emboldened Russia. And in these parts, the information battle lines have already been crossed. The old Viru Hotel, once KGB controlled, a Soviet symbol that screams information is power. The rooms and restaurants bugged to blackmail, heady days and nights recorded to compromise. We're going to the hotel's 23rd floor. That's right, the 23rd floor. The KGB control room, the switchboard for a network of tiny microphones. These old wires, the medium of Russian influence. Nowadays, the wires are fibre optic. Another hotel in Tallinn. We meet a member of the group Propostop, the new breed of information activist. He's asked for anonymity to avoid being targeted by Russian hackers. Our story starts with a Facebook post he wants to show us. It will end, he says, with the Kremlin. The Facebook post tells the tale of a group of British troops with the NATO mission to Estonia. According to the post, the soldiers were rude to an elderly lady in a hospital waiting room in Tallinn. She didn't have a seat, they wouldn't give her theirs. At which point, our plucky storyteller confronts the troops and ends up with the following flurry in English. "I am an agent of Putin," she says, "and we are everywhere." The strange little tale was shared a few times with friends and then disappeared into the ether. Not so much. It was in fact picked up by the Baltic States news portal Bolt News. It went viral. With hundreds of British troops en route to the Baltic States, the subtext of the story, NATO troops are not only coming to bully Mother Russia with tanks on the border, they're also coming to bully your granny. The problem with the Bolt News story. The MOD told us that when the article was published, there were only about 5 British military personnel in Tallinn, including a general and a handful of officials. Also, the original Facebook source has deleted the post, has not responded to our request for more detail, and is quoted in other similar type stories on Bolt News. This is one example. There are others, even some real news, on Bolt News. It popped up 2 years ago. Its Estonian office is here in an industrial estate in Tallinn.
So this is the office block where the registered offices of Bolt News / Alt Media are, and it's 205 is the number where it's registered, which is down here.
A sister company called Alt Media is also registered here.
Hello. How are you doing? Is this Bolt News? Is Mr. Kornilov in there?
Я не работаю в Альтмедиа.
You don't work for Alt Media. So why are you in their office?
Почему вы здесь?
У меня договоренность с Александром Корниловым.
Do you produce Russian propaganda here?
Ну, то есть, что такое, вот, в вашем понимании, пропаганда?
And has the police been here?
Да.
Okay, that's what this tape is. I see.
The police were here for the boss, Alexander Kornilov.
Hello, is that Mr. Kornilov?
We've temporarily commandeered the old KGB control room to track him down. The man who runs Bolt News and Alt Media was arrested last year by police on suspicion of tax fraud. It's alleged that he didn't pay the requisite taxes on money his organisation received from Moscow. It's one of the ways the Estonian equivalent to MI5 is clamping down on what they call subversive Russian influences. The intelligence services here in no doubt about the endgame.
The goal is to make Russia great again, or make it superpower again.
We start with Bolt News and Alexander Kornilov.
He's pro-Kremlin activist. I wouldn't call him journalist.
Does he call himself a journalist?
Sure.
Is he?
They call themselves journalists, yeah. They are coordinated from Russia and
How do you know they're coordinated from Russia?
this is things. This is I cannot go into details on that, but we know.
Is it money
Yeah, they get money. Yeah?
from Moscow?
Yes.
Kornilov wouldn't do an interview on camera, but told us he's standing by his journalism and said the tax case against him was politically motivated. There's another layer to our story. For that, we travel south to Riga, Latvia. This is the NATO agency that monitors fake news. Yes, such a thing exists, and the UK is a contributing partner. We started with mechanics. Now for the big picture. A new trend, according to NATO, for Russian money to buy existing clickbait sites and bit by bit transform them.
That sort of clickbait business, they introduced the sentiments, the news.
So are you saying to me, Yanis, that pro-Russian businessmen are buying up entertainment websites and changing them into Russian propaganda organizations?
They've exposed themselves being part of the pro-Russian political forces.
A second trend, for Russian-funded think tanks in the West to basically launder fake news, to give it a veneer of academic credibility, a thin sheet of solid ice on top of the slush. So, it's sophisticated, and according to NATO, designed to drive a wedge, first between the ethnically Russian community and the Baltic States they live in, but ultimately to do the same to organizations like the EU.
You don't need tanks. You might actually achieve your goals if you change the perception patterns of a given society in a way that corresponds to your interests, and the society starts to act how you want them to act.
This is the NATO perspective, of course, and it's worth remembering that propaganda changes to news and vice versa, depending on your world view. Fake news is nothing new in the Baltic States. There's history here. Take the barricades in Riga in '91. The threat of Soviet aggression prompted thousands not only to surround government buildings, but also the radio and television stations. 7 people were killed, people who wanted to protect the independence of the narrative. In other words, they formed a human shield around, believe it or not, the mainstream media. For these people, fake news wasn't something you liked or disliked on Facebook. It was something worth laying your life on the line for to stop.